Everybody, in the video I posted last weekend, I talked about the background buildings that I'm going to put here. I posted it on Sunday, the Arbenz building and those other buildings, and how my original thought was that they were all covered up with trees and you would hardly be able to be visible. But let me show you something that talk about a comment that somebody made. So this is how it looked in 2021. So I thought, I can just make a flat of the building out here and, it's all gonna be covered up by trees. And someone reminded me that I'm modeling 1980, not 2021. And 1980, it probably didn't look like this. So I started doing some research and I'll show you what I found out. Well, I forgot about this photo. This photo is mainly of the roundhouse and the yard and everything, but you could see the buildings at the top, so I cropped it out. I think this was taken around 1950. You can definitely see that the spur was curved and there's a bunch of cars on it. Again, I think where the curve is, that was the only place where they had loading doors. The rest of those cars may have just been stored, may have been waiting to get loaded, not sure. This is 1957. This is the earliest photo. Everything looks pretty clean. It does look like there's a spur, comes down and curves around in here. Don't see any cars on it. These look like railroad cars here, maybe on the main line, but I don't see anything on here. So obviously, I bet there was still a spur there at that point. That looks really clean. So this is 1960. Now the buildings aren't really curved like this. I don't know why it looks like that. This is the main line, and you can see there wasn't a whole lot of vegetation in there. I don't know if they were using it for storage at that time or not. The only loading dock doors I see are down around here. So again, I'm not really sure why it appears like that, but the buildings are not curved. They're a straight line, as I showed in the video last week. Here's 1971. The resolution changes from year to year in these photographs. You don't have, they don't do it one every year. This is the Arbenz building right here. This is that little addition of the warehouse onto it. These are trucks, I believe, that are backed in here. Again, when I zoom out this far, or zoom in this close, you can't really tell much detail. Again, it doesn't look like there's a lot of vegetation there, and I don't think there was a spur there either at that point. So now we're up to 1983. This is more the era I model. Now it looks like straight line here across here now. But now there's all green. I can't see any evidence of any roadbed, spur, anything left at that point. Again, you saw in the video last week that they'd cleaned all that out, and you can't tell any evidence that there was ever a rail line there now, especially with the slope of the land. I'd also forgotten about this photo. You can just see the left edge of the photo, the Arbenz building, and then all the little low buildings down through there. Pretty sure this was taken around my era, around 1980, with that signal tower and everything, and all the covered hoppers loaded up there. You can see the scale track. That is a car on the General Chemical spur down there. So at this point, there was no evidence of any spur there. Starting to get overgrown, a few scrubby trees. So let's jump up to 2009. This is probably the clearest photo. Now you're starting to get some trees growing in here. Again, they're not huge yet, but there's a lot of vegetation here in 2009. So back to the 2021 picture, and again, at this point, it looks like some of these trees are actually even as tall as the building, if not taller than the building. So it's pretty overgrown, but that's not what it looked like in 1980. So I am going to show a lot more of the building, and I probably will show like cinders, I don't think I'll have a track, ties, things like that, but I think I will have where there used to be like a little hint of a roadbed that's starting to get all overgrown on my model. So I really appreciate him pointing that out, because I would have done this. And that's not the way it was in 1980. So here's the historic photo before that other warehouse was built on this end of it. I believe that's about 160 feet along the tracks where the car is at. I think there's over 40 windows. So I'll show you I'm probably going to have to hinge it in the middle since it's going around a curve. So I'll show you what that's going to look like. So this sheet of evergreen styrene is, amazingly enough, about 160 feet in scale. So what I'll probably do is make it 80, put an angle on it, make it 80 again, to sort of fit the curve a little bit. I'll have the other square warehouse down here too, and then the low warehouses will be back in this area. So for the R-Benz building itself, I'm going to use the T-Sheet Tring Group 2502 double hung masonry. Again, I'm going to need like about 40, 42, something like that, with a couple little loading dock doors down low. But there'll be a lot of windows, a lot of cutting out. So this is going to be the front of one of the shops. I marked the windows, started cutting them out, but I'm not using the same windows that I did that I just showed you. I'm going to be for the R-Benz building. Since I'm not going to be mobile enough to stand in here and like measure things, what I've done is I made a cardboard template, because I guarantee you that curve is not even all the way around. And so I can use that to shape the, at least see how it's going to fit against the backdrops. What I think I'm going to focus on, though, at the beginning is the fronts of the buildings, because the sides are what's going to vary in depth. So if I just make the fronts, and then I can cut the sides to fit when I'm able to work in here, maybe, after 3 or 4 weeks anyhow. And the shops itself are going to go down here. This is going to be those little backdrop buildings where I filmed, last weekend. Anyhow, that's enough to get me started. I'm supposed to keep my leg elevated for a month. They say walk 10 times a day, no more than 20 feet at a time. And I don't know how that's going to work, but obviously I can't stand here and work on the layout. So I'm going to have to do stuff at the workbench. And even at my workbench, I can't keep my leg elevated. It's going to be like on the couch with a cutting board or something. So anyhow, I'll end it here, but I will show you, I'll post something after the surgery tonight. Well, I'm thinking about it. These are the windows and doors I'm going to use for the car shops. Home from surgery, but okay. Luckily, I have a beautiful nurse to help me through this. So, operations video on Saturday. Everybody stay safe.